Hello, we have unlocked the doors to the bar. Today, we're going to be discussing card readers. How important are they? Also, we have another crazy wedding story for you to get your teeth into. And Project Creep, something that we're all victims of. But what exactly is it? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the bar. Before we get into nitty gritty of things, Cam's got a couple of things you'd like to remind you about.
I do, Mark. Yes, I just wanted to say that if you enjoy the show, please make sure to support us by subscribing to our YouTube channel. And you can also follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, and TikTok, all of which will be linked in the show notes. And also, please remember to leave us that 5-star review we always ask for on your favorite podcast apps, such as Spotify and Apple Podcast. And with all that said, Mark, how are you?
I'm fine, Cam. I think we also need to just chat about something else before we get into it, because I've just reminded myself, we've now got Patreon.
Oh, yes, we have, haven't we?
We've got Patreon. So the Photography Bar now has a Patreon page. Check it out. There's some cool little things there if you sign up. So yeah, please do have a look, and it'd be awesome to have some of your support. That'd be amazing.
Okay, so Mark, we have just got off from the back of a mammoth shoot, haven't we?
Yes.
And this mammoth shoot involved probably, I reckon, between 20 and 28,000 people.
Yeah, it was a big one.
That's a big shoot.
It's a big shoot. I mean, it wasn't all in one day, people. Just so that you know, it was over. It was 7 days, wasn't it? I think if you include setup days, it's 7 days, something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
And it was the biggest graduation I think we've done, isn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, that's right. And in actual fact, the week before there was another one going on that we were obviously managing, and that was going on as well. That was over 4 days, but again, there were several thousand people there.
Yeah,
and so we are absolutely shattered, as you can imagine. Yeah. Long days,
13-hour days mostly, wasn't it? And,
yeah, that's right. Very few breaks, day after day.
Yeah,
being away from home. Hey, that's the life of a photographer. But
we had a great team. I just want to say we had a big shout out to the team. Also, we had the photographers there, also the admin staff. You know, it was a slog. It was an absolute slog, and heroes, all of them really, because they were long old days.
They were. That's right. Yeah. Now, obviously, when you do a shoot of that magnitude, of that size, and that was a big one, obviously you've got all of the download to do, and and all the post-processing. These images don't just suddenly be shot and then they just appear suddenly. That's
how many images do you think we shot?
Whoa, I don't know. You know what, I've got a calculator here, right? Okay, so if we did I'm trying to work it out. I'm trying to punch my numbers in.
I mean,
here.
roughly
7,000. Okay,
7,000 graduates.
7,000 graduates, and let's just say each one with some family pictures. Overall, let's just say there were 15 images. That's 105,000 images.
Wow.
Okay, and it was probably more actually. It was.
Well, you're not including all the event stuff and the VIPs, the stuff that I was doing as well.
Exactly. So we had VIP photography to do. There was event photography to do. There was the video stuff that we were doing. So we were stretched as a team, and we had drone stuff as well that was going on. So we really did take it to the extreme of working long hours and being involved in a number of different things, and being multi-skilled as well, and being able to adapt to situations where we were just being asked to shoot something with very little sort of prior warning. You know, suddenly there'd be a VIP, an honorary, or you'd have to do something on stage, or you'd have to be back in the studio, or you need to be, helping with the drone or something like that. So, it was it certainly kept you on the edge, but the number of images we were talking about just now, that part of it. Now, I was responsible for doing the downloading of all of that. And when you're downloading and you've got a lot of people around you, it can be very easy to get lost with all of that. Because one simple mistake means that you can miss not just one picture, but you can sort of miss downloading several images, which causes issues untold issues further down the line, and which can be sort of quite financially sort of can have a financial hit as well. So you've got to really concentrate on what you do, and that whole download process also relies on having the right equipment and the right sort of laptop. It's all obviously done on site, a laptop that's going to do it quick. But also card readers as well, and what you download. And that's really what I wanted to talk about. I wanted to talk about memory card readers because over the years, I've bought several memory card readers, and some have been good, some have been not so good. I wouldn't say any of them have lasted. I really wouldn't.
I did have one years and years and years ago. I think I bought it when I was still working my Jessup days, I think, and I bought it. It was a SanDisk one. Right. And it was brilliant. And this was the days when compact flash was king. And any of you who've used compact flash, especially with card readers, probably know that one of the first things to go in a card reader are the pins, because they tend to get bent, don't they?
They do. They do.
It's an absolute pain in the bum. However, this SanDisk one that I had, and they've not done it since. It broke eventually just because of old age. I had it for 7 to 10 years. This card reader. It was a long one, but it had because I was using compact flash, but it had a really long slot. So by the time the card got to the pins, it was in line. I found now with compact flash card readers now, they have a very narrow slot. So it's very easy to bend the pins. But I say this SanDisk one, it lasted me for years. And I've never had one last that long since, ever.
So hang on, so you're saying the gap is narrower now. Is that what you were just saying?
No, so when you're inserting the cards. So there was a longer hole, I guess. Do you know what I mean?
Okay, right.
So there was when the card was attached into the pins, there was less of the compact flash showing. Because it was quite a deep hole. And so because of that, you were lined up perfectly because it had that deep hole. You don't get that these days. You get a very sort of shallow hole, and it's so easy to bend the pins, I find.
Yeah, it is. And I bought, I can't remember what the make of it is now. I was going to mention it going back one last year. I thought, this is a really good one. And it's exactly what happened. The pins bent. And I'm usually very, try and be very careful with those because I know that that's what happens. To be honest with you, it's not the card reader I'm fussed about. It's the actual memory card, right? That's what I'm really sort of concerned about. But when you're working under such pressure and you've got a lot of people around you, it's easy to make those mistakes. And somebody hands you a card and they want you to download it and they're waiting to get it back, and you push the card in and it doesn't go in, and you pull it out and you still can't get it back in. You're wondering what's going on. And then when you do look at the pins in the card reader, yes, one's bent and it's not usable. And so you're scrapping around to see if somebody has one.
And I have managed to fix a few.
Yeah, I've done that as well.
Just with a pair of tweezers and a magnifying loop and just put it back. You always feel a bit wary though, don't you?
That's right. Yeah. So card readers is one of those things that is what do you buy? Because a lot of laptops, they come with card readers built in, don't they? Like a micro SD card reader or an SD card reader.
Yeah.
But I've not ever seen a laptop that's got a compact flash card reader in.
Well, no, I think they're phasing compact flash out generally. I think maybe the pin issue is one of the reasons. I mean, it's like, do you remember the old smart media cards? I mean, that it used to have smart media, which was basically a bigger version and a flatter version of the SD.
Yeah.
And it had compact flash, and it was either one. Smart media got phased out quite quickly because SDs kind of took over, and I think SDs are now taking over compact flash mainly because of the pin issue is an issue. Having said that, there's still quite a few cameras out there that have compact flash. My Mark III has a backup. That's a compact flash. But I suggest the card I pull out and put in all the time is the SD. And SDs, they're not beyond their problems either.
No,
they do come apart, they get corrupted or whatever. But I think generally they're better than the compact flash ones, and I'm guessing that's why they're phasing them out. So that's why I guess manufacturers of laptops aren't putting them in,
and they take up a lot of space, don't they? So let me break it down a bit, because that gives me because I was going to talk, I wanted to talk about memory card readers, which we will do, but I also want to now include the cards, and let's break them down as we go intersections here, because it's going to relate to everyone, because Nikon do the XQD card. So let's start with the XQD cards that Nikon do. Okay.
I mean, it's kind of odd just to throw it in, because I don't have any experience with XQDs being a Canon user. So I don't use them.
Okay. So I do. Well, I have done, because I had, I think it was a Nikon D4S going back a few years ago, and that's the first time I came across it. And so when I remember going in to buy the camera, I remember going into Wex, and I had no idea that they had an XQD card. So when I went to get my memory cards, I thought they were just SD cards. I thought, I'm just going to get some new cards while I'm here. They said to me, "Oh, here's you need an XQD card," and I think it was something like 32 gig, whatever it was, 32 gig, 60. Anyway, it's £175.
Wow.
I thought, what?
Expensive.
That's just it. Why are they so expensive? They're saying they were saying that they're more durable. They write faster. They'll download faster. They'll do all of that and everything. But it had an XQD card and an SD card slot, so it had dual card slots.
Yeah.
Now I think Canon now are doing CF Express. Is it Canon that are doing CF Express?
I don't know, because I mean obviously the R6 and the R6 Mark II, which is probably one of their more later cameras. Yeah, they're both SDs.
They are
cards.
That's right. Yeah. Now I wasn't sure. Now I've got, we're both Canon users, so and I know some of the photographers we're working with were saying that we're using CF Express cards. Now I'm not sure whether they are the same as the XQD cards. Either way, they are these sort of rectangular cards, a little bit bigger than an XQD card, I would say, a bit thicker, but they're supposed to be more durable. They're supposed to, as I said, write faster, do all of those things, which fine, they probably do, but they are very, very expensive. And then you need a memory card reader that will take that. So I remember having to buy the memory card reader to specifically take that XQD card to read that. So that cost me as well, which I wasn't expecting at the time.
Yeah. Do they still use XQDs in their later cameras, Nikon?
Yes, So Nikon, that's what's
not going away.
No, because that's what's taken over SD cards. So it's newer than SD cards.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Yeah, but I'm just wondering, you had, and I know I've spoken about this a few times, you had the Sony memory stick, which is this purple sort of oblong looking memory thing, and they're gone. They no one uses them anymore.
Have they? Right, they're phased out, have they?
Yeah, well, you don't use them for your Sony cameras, do you? They're all SD.
No, not at all.
So you don't have these. It was back in the late 90s, early noughties when these cards were about. But all their cameras took them. These purple, and they were more expensive than the others.
Yeah.
Maybe, and I couldn't really fathom why. I think maybe it's because maybe they did write faster and maybe all that kind of stuff. Yeah. But they are now phased out, so you can't use them anymore.
Yeah. So with the CF Express, I was just looking up here. They have Type A and Type B cards, and I think they just got different write speeds. It says that both Type A and Type B CF Express formats are based around the same super fast PCI Express technology. However, they differ in the amount of PCI data transfer lanes available. So it gets a little bit technical here, but I think they've just got different write speeds on them, and they're compact, it says, and just saves time in downloading. And they're used in cameras. Sony use them a lot, and it says that they are now the choice for professional photographers. I wouldn't necessarily say that at all.
No, we don't use them, do we?
No, exactly. Certainly not from our experience.
In fact, I haven't heard a lot about these cards. So many of the photographers I know use these cards.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, last time, I mean, there was a team of 10 photographers, and I think 2 of them had one had an XQD card, one had CF Express. I think it might we might be talking about the same thing. So you have those, and you have to have a different memory card for those, and they're expensive. Then we were talking about obviously compact flash. We've spoken a little bit about that. The problem with those is that the pins in the card readers do bend. They are prone to problems there. Then you've got
they are being phased out as well. There's no doubt about that.
Then you've got SD cards, and I think they're the most popular. I think pretty much, I would say probably most cameras have got an SD card. Yeah. If they take an XQD card or a CF Express, then the backup slot is going to be an SD And I think they're the most convenient. I've certainly had problems with those. Yep. I know that when I pull them out of my camera, I've had one or two where I pulled it out and I felt something tug a little bit.
Yeah.
And then when you take it out, you see the bit of the gold, you know, the connectors have come off, and immediately that card is just, it's bent, it's thrown away and chucked. Don't risk it. Don't use it. You know, you're going to have a problem with that.
Yeah.
But they are the most popular ones. And then after that, you've got micro SD cards, which we use micro SD cards in our drones.
Yeah.
We've not gotten any in the cameras that we use, but I know a lot of the compact cameras these days use.
Well, the GoPros use them.
GoPros use them.
So my action camera is not actually a GoPro, but yeah, it's a YI or Yi camera, but yeah, it's a micro SD.
Yeah, I mean,
and then you have an adapter for it, so it then goes into SD card readers and stuff.
Exactly. So I've got two laptops, and one of those laptops has a micro SD card reader, which is really useful. It does actually, which is my old laptop, which is really useful because we'd always use it to download all the drone stuff. It's brilliant, and those cards are so small; it's so easy to lose, and so that was really useful. But the laptop that I bought going back a few months ago, that's got an SD card reader. Hasn't got a micro SD card reader built in. It'd be handy to have had both actually. So that's and that was one of the, you know, when I bought my laptop, that was one of the reasons why I bought my laptop, because it had an SD card reader in it. So when buying my laptop, it was not just for speed and everything else I was looking at. I was thinking, can I download direct rather than putting a memory card in there or something? But coming back to the card readers then, is that cost wise, I mean, you can buy a card reader for, I don't know, £10, and they go up to, I don't know, £150 for different card readers.
I've not seen £150 one, but
some are just single card readers. In other words, they'll read an SD card only, a compact flash card reader, or they're dedicated, micro SD card. I think more and more now, you see that they're multi card readers. And as I was saying, I bought a load over the years, and particularly for this shoot that we had coming up, last week, this big one, I needed to buy some more card readers. And I know the photographers we work with, some of them were shooting compact flash, some were with SD. I didn't buy an XQD card reader because all of the photographers said anyone's using the CF Express or XQD we're also shooting on SD as well. So I went out and bought I bought out 3 of the Lexar Professional it's called the Lexar Professional multi card 3-in-1 USB 3.1 card reader. It's got an SD slot, micro SD, compact flash. It's a nice sort of, not a triangular shape, but it's a really well built, solid piece of kit, as it were.
What's the slot like on the compact flash?
It's the same as every other one, right? It's very narrow. You push the card in, and most of the card is actually sticking out. It doesn't push all the way in, and I find
don't know why they don't make these long holes for the compact flash.
Yeah, I guess maybe it's just design, less costs. Maybe somebody designed it for the first time and they all said, "Oh yeah, we cut down on material by doing it that way. Don't need to." But,
and we can sell another one when they break the pins.
Yeah, exactly. That's right. Yeah. So every time I would put the the compact flash, for any of the cards in, I'd put them in very, very carefully, and also pull them out very carefully. It's very easy when you're working quickly. You whack the card in, you download, you take the card out, and that's where you're going to make a mistake. It's important to make sure that the card is pushed in all the way. So this Lexar Professional one that I bought, it's very tempting for me to say it's the best card reader I've ever bought, because every card reader I buy is always a good one, and it's the best one I've ever bought.
And then 6 months later,
and there's some sort of an issue with it. Yeah. So what I like about this one though is that it's quite sturdy. That it can sit on a table. It's got sort of a not rubber feet, but it's got something where it doesn't slide around. So when you put it on the table, it's there. I've got some other ones that just look like USB slots, and other ones that like a long USB dongle type of thing, which take an SD card reader. So they come in all shapes and all sizes. But what do you go out and buy? Because most people, I guess a lot of people, hobbyists in particular, most cases will probably think, I'll just buy a card reader, and they'll go anywhere and they'll think, oh, well, why should I spend 50 quid on a card reader when I can get something that does the same job and it's 10 quid. I'll just buy that one. And it's probably going to be good enough for them. It's, it might last them for ages, but when it comes to pro use, you've got to be a little bit more sort of be prepared to spend and be a little bit more on the ball about what you're actually going to get.
But you're going to use it loads more, aren't you? I mean, that's basically it. There's going to be a lot more wear and tear in it. And it is incredibly important piece. If you can't have a faulty card reader because you're up the creek, aren't you, basically?
Yeah, exactly. And a good card reader, really what you're looking for is something that's it's gonna be download things fast, it's gonna have consistent transfer speeds because they do make a difference. It's got to be durable, and also is just to keep it clean as well. Don't throw it around, keep it somewhere in a box. It's very easy just to throw it in your camera bag and just leave it there. So I've got just a little plastic bag that I keep my card readers in, which I keep in one of my bags, just to try and keep them clean. I don't just have it loose. I know you do, Mark, because I've seen them in your bag, right? But then I think that's what most people do.
They have a little pocket inside my bag. It's not loose in my bag.
Sure. But what I was going to say, what you do is probably what most people do. It's what I did for years as well. I think the hubs are the good ones, the ones that the multi-purpose ones, where, because, you might go out and buy a camera and find that, my old camera was SD cards. I bought a new one. Oh, and it only takes micro SD or whatever. But so when you're looking for a memory card reader, spend good money, take your time looking for one and look after it and look after when you're downloading your cards as well. Because you can have issues with those.
Okay, well, with that in mind, I'm off to go and buy a card reader. So I get a drink at the same time.
Yeah, let's go and grab one.
Right then. So I have a wedding story for you.
Oh dear.
Yeah, a wedding story. I mean, it's not my wedding story. It's something that I found online, but it's quite a story. I know some of you guys probably remember the story we said about how a couple got a divorce and was trying to get their money back from the photographer, which obviously was a bit crazy. But this one is also a little bit crazy. I'm going to read it out, just so that everything is right, and see what you guys think. So this is the story. So
let's hear it.
When my best friend was getting married, she asked me to be her photographer for the day. It was my wedding gift for her. The bride and groom were very happy with the results, and it was all good, basically. So a couple of weeks later, I receive a call from an unknown number. So the caller goes, "Hi, I hope you still remember me from the wedding. I saw the pictures you took, and they are so neat." This is obviously American, right?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Of which the author replies, "Hi, thank you. Were you the one with the baby blue dress?" The caller says, "Yeah, that was me. I was just wondering, I'm going to get married in 3 weeks. Could you give me your address so I can send you an invitation?" So the author's like, "Wow, thank you." She doesn't really know this person, basically. And the caller goes, "Don't worry about a wedding gift. You can bring your camera and take pictures." So the author then went, "So you don't want to invite me, but to hire me?" And the caller said, "No, silly. I invite you as a friend, and I ask for the same gift as you did for your friend." She got pretty upset when I told her that this isn't going to happen. When I told my bestie about what she was about this, she was really sorry. The girl was her cousin and kept asking for my number, even though she begged her not to bother me. So basically, what you got there is someone trying to get free wedding photography. What do you think to that?
It reminds me of, and let's be honest here, okay, that's first of all, people have got different budgets. Some people have got a really good budget, high budget to spend on their wedding, and then you've got a lot of people that just don't have really anything to spend, but they still want to have a great wedding day and they still want to have a great photo. So so what we'll do is we'll not dismiss that factor, about people have their budgets, and we have to respect the fact that some people have this huge budget and some people would love to have a huge budget, but they just can't. Okay. Yeah. So, but there are people looking for deals and to try and get something free. So a lot of people will hire a friend, a keen photographer, and we've been through that before. I mean, hiring a friend to do your wedding photography Yeah, it is a big no for lots of reasons. It's a great way to fall out.
Although it went well in that story, because obviously the original thing was she went to this wedding, and as a gift she took the photos.
Yeah.
Because she was her best friend.
Yeah.
And that went fine.
Okay. So that's fine. Now, I know from them where, sort of I do the teaching from the classes that I run, that I get emails and I get a handful every year of saying that I'm getting married, and do you have a student who could do our wedding for us, and it will be great for their portfolio? Okay,
that one.
Right, and that's a very common request.
Yeah.
Okay, it is a very common request. Okay, great for their portfolio. Yeah, which is the biggest insult to any photographer.
It just winds me up, that one.
It does, doesn't it?
Great for your portfolio.
It'd be great for your portfolio. It'd be great. You're going to get loads of sales from those pictures. Yeah. Loads of people are going to buy them. No, they're not. No one's going to buy them, right? No. It's not going to happen, and you don't need it, and you don't need it for your portfolio. Just and unless you approach somebody and said, look, I'm trying to expand my portfolio. I'd really be interested in doing your wedding. Now that's very different. But when someone else approaches you about that, okay, so people are always looking out for, there are people looking, they want photos, but they can't afford to have them done. That's fair enough. But I think it's the approach some people take where, that whole thing about, there's two things that are said. There's the portfolio, it'd be good for their portfolio, and also we'll give, I've had this, right, where at times I've said, we'll provide them with some food, and they can have a drink as well, right? It's like, and everything about it is insulting. And I do reply back to these people, and I actually say, first of all, we don't do this because we would never put any of our students in a situation to do anyone's wedding day. It's the most important day, at that point in their life. Okay. And we're not going to take a risk. I'm not going to destroy the confidence of a student who's never done this before, because it's very easy to say, oh, well, we're not bothered about it before, any photos will be good. Then afterwards, everyone complains, and that happens with friends. I know this has happened so many times when a friend has done a friend's wedding and they're fallen out because the photos weren't what they're expecting, whereas actually beforehand I was saying, oh, don't worry about it, we only want you to take a few photos, we're not that bothered, anything will do. But after the event they're thinking, well, actually, hang on a minute, they're not very good. So, and then there's a falling out. Now this person here is, it's obviously a real chancer, to say that, I'd like you, I'm inviting you to my wedding, and there's a gift. Really, it just smacks of just, it's everything also, is wrong, isn't it?
The other thing that struck me is that I'm getting married in 3 weeks' time.
There's that as well, yeah.
What's going on there? Why is it that you think that, that's good in any respect? It's just kind of crazy, I think. Photography is a very highly skilled job. Not only have you got to know all your exposures and, you got to know poses, you've also got to basically be crowd control. You are organizing the day pretty much most of the times. There are exceptions to that. Some people have good Toastmasters or whatever. But basically, but basically, you are running the day if there's none of those people around. So, you've got to organize things with the venue. You've got to, you are, because lots of people have their own agendas as well. The venue want to get stuff done on time. They've got their brief. They've got their targets to do. The photographer's got the same. I'm guessing that sometimes you have like singing waiters. They've got to do their thing, and you've got to organize all of this. And that's the stuff that people don't see. So, if someone was like, oh, I invite you to a wedding, and bring your camera, I'd be like, well, no. It's up to me to offer that. But also, if there is a if there is a photographer there, you kind of, I always feel like I don't want to undermine the photographers that's there. So it's very rare to take my camera to a wedding.
Yeah, that's right. Now, and I think back the last 2 weeks that we've done, and where we had to go to, I won't say where we were working with these graduations, but they were, 3 for us, both. They were 3-hour drives away, weren't they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
pretty much.
and I remember for the first one, I had to drive there, go and set up, and then I wasn't there for the first day of the event because I had a wedding to shoot. So I came back and then we shot a wedding, shot that wedding, and on that day it chucked it down with rain all day. It did not stop, so we had to do everything inside. Then that was on the Friday. Then on the Sunday we then left for the big first week of the big graduation.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we had a wedding on that weekend, and again it chucked it down with rain all day. And then we went back to then we went back to the job and we carried on shooting there. Now that took it out of us, right? Physically, mentally, we were, we were frazzled.
It's a lot.
But nobody at the wedding, no one at the graduation ceremonies could see that we were frazzled. They could see that we were on it. We were on top of it. They had no idea at all. And on top of all that, with 2 weddings, which have had the worst weather that I can remember, 2 weddings running, the worst weather that I can remember for a long time, where everything was washed out. We still had to produce the photos that the bride and groom expected, crowd control, do everything indoors and everything. And then this mammoth shoot that we had. And that's what you're paying for. You're paying for a photographer to be able to do these things, to be able to manage all of these things at the drop of a hat, to say it's chucking it down with rain. You can't just say, look, actually, hang on, you know what? We're going to have to scrap these photos. We can't do them. We're not going to be doing any photos for you. You've got to come up with the next best option. And that next best option has got to be as good as anything that you were planning to do outside. So, when people say about a photographer, and they try and get something for free. And again, don't get me wrong, I respect the fact that some people don't have the budgets for it. But when some people try and get something for nothing, or where they don't appreciate what a photographer's role is, and then that's their ignorance, I suppose, is to put it politely.
Yeah, no, I agree. It's also incredibly insulting, and it shows a lack of respect for the profession as well. So yeah, I mean, and the fact that person got upset when the author, the photographer, was like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't know you. You're just inviting me, so you get free photography. That's essentially what you're doing. You don't want me there, really.
Of course,
yeah. It's just. I don't understand the mentality of somebody. You wouldn't do that to any other profession, would you?
No, of course you wouldn't. You don't go. We've had this sort of analogy before, don't we? I don't know. We've said about walking into a restaurant or walk into a bar or something, isn't it? Or something. You don't take your own drink or something. I can't remember what it was.
You don't bring your own burger into Mackie D's, do you? That's essentially my point there. Yeah.
I'd say, and that is true. That is a good way of putting it, but that's how it is. So, but interesting, because that is, a lot of wedding photographers are faced with that. A lot of people who are getting married want to have wedding photography, but they want to have it done cheap or free. They want something for nothing, and they do try it on. So,
and it does carry on into other things, but I'm getting a little thirsty. So I think it's your round though.
Okay, here we go. Let me go to the bar.
So obviously, if you've been following the last story you were talking about, about people trying to get wedding photography for free, we kind of went over about how the profession isn't. People do this and they expect it, and you wouldn't do it in any other profession. But the other thing that kind of struck me is, have you heard the phrase project creep?
No, I haven't. No.
Okay, so basically, it's when it doesn't, not necessarily just photography, it's anything. So let's say you're building an extension, you're building an extension, and then the person then says, oh, and by the way, can you do the drive as well? Well, hang on a minute, that wasn't in the original brief. That's not the project. I'm here to build an extension and nothing more. If you want me to do your drive, then there's going to be extra money. And sometimes that's fine, and sometimes extra money's done, but it's not always about the money. It's also about the time. Well, no, I've allotted this time to build your extension. I've got to go to Mr. Smith down the road and build their extension after this, so I don't have time to do your drive. It could be things like that. Now, I've noticed this in photography. You're going off to do, you go off to do some headshots, of a company or something like that. And then they kind of go, actually, can you also get some, I don't know, behind the scenes, or maybe can you take some pictures of our products as well? And can you get a picture of the office? And I'm like, well, hang on a minute. No. I've quoted you for headshots. And I also have another shoot this afternoon. So I can't do, and people kind of go, well, you should really do this for me and all this kind of stuff. I'm like, well, no. I mean, how have you had that, Cam? Is that something that you've sort of come across, and how do you deal with it? And what would your advice be?
Yeah, all the time. I've had that for years. Well, you
got a name for it now, project creep.
Yeah, project. I'd never heard of that phrase actually. It's going to stay with me now, that, because I think I can think of almost every shoot that I've done for a company when I've been there. And yeah, you've gone to do some headshots or you've gone to do some product shots, and there is always that thing of, somebody's just had this idea. They've said, while you're here, could you do this? And you're thinking, well, in actual fact, you've just given me these products, and really they need to be done on say a white background, but I haven't bought that white background because it wasn't part of the brief. So I'm now gonna, and then they'll say, well, just pop them up there. I'm sure they'll be fine. Just so they're looking for let's just get him while he's here. And what they do is they're sort of thinking, right, while we've got the photographer here, the photographer's charging X amount for this for the day. Let's squeeze as much out of that photographer as we can. And I've been in this situation where they've not even given you a break, where you don't even get a lunch break, where they just expect you to go from one to the other, because they're thinking, right, this photographer's here for a day. We're paying a daily rate here. So we want to make sure, right, that we get as much out of this photographer as we possibly can. But for me now, I'm experienced enough to be able to say, guys, I'm going to go and grab something to eat. I don't worry about that now. And then they'll say, oh, of course, yes, have a break, but I've been in companies where they don't even offer you a tea or a coffee. And I know for a fact that they've gone off to go and have their break, but they've just left you working and shooting. But I'll say now I have that confidence, but that confidence has only come from having done it for so many years, to be able to say, guys, I just need to grab a coffee. And these days it's different, because a lot of people just nip out to a Costa or wherever. So it's very easy to say, I'm just going to nip out to a Costa, or is there a Starbucks near here? It's going back years ago. That was never the case. They didn't really exist, really. You'd have, be waiting for someone. But when it comes to now people asking to do, they want extra things doing, that project creep, as you call it, right? Okay, I will now just add it onto the invoice, and no one quibbles about it. So when it comes to it, I will then break it down and say, look, there were your headshots that we needed to do, right? That was those, and then in the invoice I'll put additional product photography, X amount, editing, X amount. I'll just break it down. And then if they query it, then I would just say to them, well, it wasn't part of the brief. Certainly I can add those on. There is a way of saying it. And I have been in the situation where I've said to people that something like, we can add those on for you. So it's that little phrase of saying, we can add, certainly I can add those on for you. And by saying that, you're almost sort of saying, we can add that as a there will
service.
Be rather than saying, well, you've not actually paid for it, so you're willing to pay for it. I don't want to say that, because I don't want to put them off. I want to do the job for them. So they think, oh, he was brilliant, it was great. And afterwards, when you put the invoice in, they don't query it, because they know that they asked for that and it was extra. So if you are in that situation, then it is how you phrase it, it is how you word it. And I wouldn't say this is how you should always do it, because I think it's an experience thing, and it's a confidence thing.
Is there a way of preempting it, do you think?
I think there is, because you can always limit time. If you know that you're going to go to a customer and they're going to ask you to do a lot of extra that they're not willing to pay for, you just know that this shoot's going to take me a lot longer than I think it is. You can actually say, look, I've once you fit the date in, if you can say beforehand, look, if we can get it done within those 3 hours, because I've got a really busy schedule, so I really need to. And even when you go in, you can say, great, that's fine. I really need to. I need to stick with the times that we'd agreed. I really need to be away from here by midday. So you can be preempting all of those things, and they're saying, yeah, of course, and we'll do that. And then what I'll then do, and I use it as a bit of a sales thing, I'll then say, right, what other stuff is there that you've got that needs doing? And then they'll say, well, we needed this doing, this doing, this doing. And I'll say, okay, when's a good time for me to come in and do that? those things. So I've now fitted in an extra day shoot or a half day shoot or an extra 2 days or something, but just by saying to them, I can do whatever you want me to do. I can't do it right now, but let's schedule a date in the diary and I'll come back. So there's different ways, and I've been in all of those situations of doing it. So you can do it and word it so that the customer always feels like they feel like that you're on their side, but never be in a situation where you end up saying, oh, well, you do know that that's going to cost you extra and it's going to cost you more, because suddenly their alarm bells start ringing because they're thinking, oh, right, okay, how much extra is this going to cost? Oh, I think we'll leave it. Whereas if you go about it a very different way in that you're trying to help, I've been on shoots where I've thought, this is a long day, this is, and there's just no way I'm going to fit all of this in, and they're asking me to do extra things, and I'll just say to them, look, are you guys here tomorrow morning? I can shift things around in my diary and get back in here tomorrow morning and we can finish this off. And you charge them for that extra half day, and they would expect to pay it as well. So, but certainly there is an expectation there where project creep happens all the time. I think it happens in a lot of trades. This
isn't just a photography thing.
We've got some decorate. Yeah, we got having some decorating done at home, and so part of it was done the 2 weeks that we've been away on these shoots, and we've got various things going on. And while they were here, we said, we've actually said, could you do this? Could you do that? Would you be able to do this? But I'm aware of that. I actually always say, look, I've got a few other things that need doing. I've got this, and this. Could you just give me a cost on what it's going to be for you just to do those while you're here? So I'm aware of that, but without ever having been aware of the phrase project creep. But I've never taken it for granted,
Yeah, but there's a difference saying, is there a possibility you could do this and cost it? You know what I mean? I think my issue is people kind of go, well, whilst you can just squeeze this in for us and not have, that's not in the original brief and that is going to cost you more. But you're right. It's just definitely, it's that client management that we've spoken about before, isn't it? It's about, we could definitely squeeze that in. Or no, I can't because I have quite a tight schedule today, so I could come back in tomorrow and get it done or something.
That's it. Yeah. And what you're doing is you're creating yourself more work. You're giving the client what they want. They're going to end up getting what they want. And yes, you're charging for it. They're paying for it, but they're getting what they want. But it's done in a professional way, and it's done in a way where they're not taking it for granted. And if they do end up saying to you, if you say, look, if they're aware that, look, you're just not going to be able to do it on that day, say, look, what I'll do is, when's another good day for me to come back? And they do sometimes say, all right, well, don't worry about it. They're not that important, right? Okay, that's it. That kills that. In other words, you were going to do something and they didn't want to pay for it.
Yeah.
Or they'll say, let us come back to you and we'll fix another day. And if they come back to you, they do. If they don't, they don't. But sometimes I also follow it up. I'll, when I finish something off and I'm editing something, I say, do you guys want to schedule a date in for those other shots? And sometimes they'll come back and say, no, we're going to hold off on those. Or we'll say, oh yes. Yeah, they will say, "Oh yeah, can we? When can you come in? We want to get those done."
Is there a ratio, do you reckon, how many times do people go, "Oh no, actually, don't worry about it"? How many people go, "Oh yeah, no, we need to get you booked in"? Is there?
I would say, because of the way I approach it, most people end up saying to me that let's get it booked in.
Okay, that's cool.
And it's just because of, it's really difficult to say how, but it's just it's just from that, having the experience of knowing what to say in those situations. I'm sort of using sales. I'm sort of using a sales sort of pitch, but without them sort of thinking it's a sales pitch.
It's a soft sell, isn't it?
It's a real soft sell, but it's always, there's something in this for us. We need him to come back.
But I wonder how many people are just trying to get extra out of you without having to pay for it. I think it's more a case of, I wouldn't necessarily say, I think it comes back to what I was saying, that they feel that they've booked you for a day. When they say how much is your daily rate, for example, when they've got you for a day, they think that they've got you for every single second of that whole day without a break, right? And if you hurry up and do these things, right, you can also get these fitted in for us because we're paying you for a day anyway. So the other thing here is, let's just say that they do ask you to do extra stuff. Let's say that you've booked in for a day and your day was, let's say it was 9 to 5, and you've more or less finished what you're going to do, and it's 4 o'clock or 3 o'clock, and you think,
They've given me some more stuff to do, right?
Yeah.
And right, okay, I can do this. I've got the time to do it. Then what you do is you can make that decision of not to charge them for the shoot because it was within that day anyway, but you're still charging the extra for the editing that you're doing.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're still charging them for the editing, for the release of those images with the copyright. So you can still make additional money from that. But if you get yourself into a situation where you're doing it and you're doing it for nothing at all, and then that's probably you as the photographer, that's your fault, that's your issue, that's your problem, rather than the client not willing to pay for something. I would say that's your fault. That's the fault of the photographer.
Okay, fair enough. So I guess just making things clear at the get-go. So I mean, another thing that come out there, you have an additional post costs. So you don't just charge for the day, you charge for the editing and the post work.
Yes. So if it's a shoot, then what I'll do is I'll break it down and say, this is going to be the cost of the shoot, and then here's the cost of the editing and the release of the images. So rather than saying here's, if a job is going to cost £500, let's say it's photography and all your editing time and everything, and you're releasing the images £500, I'd probably say to them, okay, well, it's £350 for the photography, £100 for editing, £50 for release of images, something like that. I would just break it down for them. And then that way also, I think they feel that they're getting more value for money because they see what they're actually paying. Because if you just say to them, right, it's going to cost you £500, they think it's going to cost them £500 for you to go and take some photos.
Yeah.
What they don't realize is that they're also paying for the editing. They're also paying for the release of the images and the copyright that they want to use those images as well. So if you make that clear, then they think that, or they see that, okay, it's not just the photography, there's the editing. Of course there's the editing. And the images, we need those, of course. And the copyright. Oh, okay, so we can do what we want with those images. Suddenly you realize they start to realize that they're buying all of these things from you, and they're not just buying photography from you.
I mean, when you say copyright, because I find this is a big confusion for a lot of people, because copyright for me is about authorship rather than anything else. I'm assuming you still keep the authorship of the images. It's just you give companies permissions to do whatever they want with them.
Yeah, basically that word copyright, I'm saying to people that you can use the images however you want to use them. There is no restriction. I know that in the past we used to say, look, what are the images going to be used for? There's a certain fee for certain usages, and I know that still happens in the advertising industry. You've got images, you can use them for if you want to use them for magazine advertising, it's going to cost you this much. If you want them for website use, it's going to cost you. Okay, so they break it down, and then there's a time scale as well. You've got that license for 6 months, or you've got it for a year or 3 months or whatever it is. I don't do that because that's not the type of work that I do. What I do is I use the word copyright, but basically it's saying to them that
it's
you're
permissions.
allowed, permission to do what you want with it, with whatever you want with the pictures. The good thing about that is, again, they feel like they're getting something. They're sort of thinking it's a positive for them because they're thinking, oh, great, we own the copyright. We can do what we want with these pictures. Whereas if I don't mention it, they don't know that by putting in that, they feel like it's value that they're getting even more for what they're paying. Oh, that's what the photographer's charging. Oh, that's pretty good. Another photographer who prices for the same job just puts in photography services and puts the same price in, isn't giving as much perceived value as breaking it down.
That's interesting to know. Okay, well, I think that's probably about it, really. I hope you guys found this really informative and useful and entertaining, hopefully. I think Cam's got a couple of things he just wants to wrap up with, and we'll see you on the next one.
Yeah, guys, thank you again. Thank you for supporting us. Again, remember to subscribe to our YouTube. Remember the new Patreon. That's
Patreon.
New. Okay, so we'd really like you to support us on that, because it's those things that keep this show going. And Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. And I know that some of the photographers we worked with spoke to last week, and we've had so many messages since we've started doing the podcast. People do say, look, I'm a photographer. I work on my own. I spend a lot of time on my own. I don't have any other contact with other photographers. So listening to you guys is like having a couple of friends that that tell me the things that I'm thinking about as well, and so to be able to do this, we need the support of you guys to listen to the show, to give us those reviews, to join our Patreon. That would be absolutely fantastic, and then we can keep on putting this content out whilst we're in the middle of doing shoots with 28,000 people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys. Have a great week, whatever you're doing. Happy shooting, and we will see you next time.
Bye for now.